Am I the asshole for hiding vegetables in my boyfriend's food? Throwaway, because he spends a lot of time on Reddit. This is the most ridiculous argument I've ever had with a grown man. I, 28 female, have been with my boyfriend, 36 male, for a year, and we moved in together about 4 months ago. One of the first things I noticed about my boyfriend was that he never really ate vegetables. He would sometimes eat them if we were out at a restaurant and they came as a part of his meal, but he never ate them when I cooked for him. Originally, I thought that maybe my cooking was the problem, so I asked him if he enjoyed my food, and he told me he loves my cooking. On nights I didn't cook for him, he ate exclusively frozen foods and never ate the vegetables in those either. Naturally, he has some health issues, vitamin deficiencies, etc. He had phrased it to me as if he was somehow just genetically unlucky. I believed it for a while, but I don't know how that stuff works. But eventually it became clear to me it's because he voluntarily eats a vegetable like once a month. 6 months ago, I started hiding vegetables in my cooking. If I was making pasta, I'd put the vegetables in and I'd usually put it in for myself, then take half out and blend it so he wouldn't notice the vegetable chunks, and then tell him I just scooped the vegetables out of his portion. This happens more often now we live together because I do all of the cooking. He's been telling me a lot lately. He's been feeling a lot better the past few months and has even had his doctor reduce the dosage of some of his medications. And he hasn't had to take his multivitamin in weeks. I kept my mouth shut because I'm just glad he's feeling better, and it really does me no harm to hide the vegetables in his food. Yesterday, I was making one of our regular pasta meals. It's one that's very easy to hide at least 4 veggies in. And I was about to blend my boyfriend's portion when the blender died mid-blend. I had to serve it in all of its vegetable chunk glory. My boyfriend refused to eat the vegetables, but when he tasted the sauce, he said it's weird how it tastes the exact same, even though this one has vegetables in it. So I confessed. He screamed at me and called me a controlling bitch and said that it's none of my business if he thinks vegetables don't do anything. I pointed out he said he felt better. He said his health was none of my business and that I'm a controlling, judgy asshole, and stormed out of our apartment to stay with his sister. His sister texted me to say he's fine, but she agrees with him. My friends agree it's ridiculous that he doesn't eat vegetables, but agree I'm being the asshole. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for sleeping with my mom's new fiance? I'm 27 male and estranged from my mom, who refuses to speak to me for accepting her fiance's offer to have a discreet relationship. My mom raised me as a single parent and started dating again 6 to 7 years back. She met her guy 2 years back, and they got seriously committed fairly quickly. Trouble started when he found out about me being pansexual, something my mom was previously dismissive of but grew to accept. He was actually the first one, outside of people I hooked up with and or dated, to be supportive of it and would always commend me for being honest and open. About a year back, he started being very close and spending time with me alone on drives and such, and would flirt very brazenly. Long story short, we eventually hooked up and kept going behind her back to the point where he was spending more time with me than her. She eventually found out and basically disowned me. I am still currently living with him. Yeah. Mom told us to leave her house, but I want to reconnect with her desperately since she's the only parent I've ever had. Thing is, I'd rather not leave the man since I've grown very fond of him. Is this morally wrong of me? What should I do? Is it out of the question to have a good relationship with both him and my mom, considering she blames me for seducing him and doesn't want to hear about how it's actually the opposite? My roommate asked me to sleep with him. I have this roommate, and we've been living together for a few months. He is pretty depressed and keeps to himself most of the time. He works from home and doesn't leave the house much. I'm depressed too. One night, we were the only 2 people home, and I got drunk and went and bothered him and knocked on his door and chatted him up. Then that happened again another night. Then I feel like I started to get him out of his shell. He started to open up to me about his life. We went on a day trip together. We started doing small things together, like going to the store. Then yesterday, we were both home and I was having a bad day. And so was he. So he knocked on my door to talk, and we talked for hours. I cried. We laughed so hard until our stomachs hurt. Then he asked last night if I wanted to sleep with him. No sex, just sleep. He said he didn't want me to be alone. We laid in his bed and talked until like 3 a.m. about everything. Life, hardships, dreams, fears. We laughed a lot. Then we fell asleep. Nothing happened but that. And honestly, I think this is the purest friendship I've ever had. He is afraid of people hurting him and getting close to people, but I care about him so much and hope he really knows that.
Fuck you. That was so nice.
It's so wholesome.
Like, that just made me so happy.
I know. Just like...
That made my heart so happy.
Doesn't it make you feel better after everything we read today?
I also love how, like, she felt safe enough to sleep in his bed, and he made it so very clear that there was no expectation of, like, doing anything together other than sleeping.
Isn't it so funny? I pictured 2 guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it a girl or is it 2 guys?
No genders were mentioned except the roommate got he pronouns. I was honestly envisioning 2 guys.
Maybe it is 2 guys. Oh my God. Literally fan fiction, real life. Like literally opening up Wattpad now.
I just think it's so cute. And it's also like, I mean, I've been really down on myself lately for like, I spend so much time in my house. I don't get out much. Like I've made my social circle really small and it kind of eats at you eventually. And like looking at these 2 where they started to like, I knocked on his door and then he knocked on my door. Like it's amazing. Like you don't even realize how many people you may have in your circle that are just waiting for you to reach out or vice versa. And like, just, hey, this week, little homework for everyone, especially if you're feeling alone, like reach out to someone you've wanted to grab lunch with or like get on Bumble BFF or do something. Like if you're feeling lonely, just put yourself out there because look at what happens.
Also, 9 times out of 10, I'm not joking, the people you don't think care that much about you care so much for you.
Did you see that study? It's about like people liking you. And we often think like people don't really like us, but we actually underestimate how much people like us. And there's this new like study, or maybe it's old and it's just being talked about, but it's the study that says like people like you more than you think.
That sounds actually super plausible.
I know. I've like, because I leave every social interaction I ever experience and I'm like, wow, was I awkward? Wow, I don't think they like me.
Analyze. I'm like, what did I say? Did I say it in a weird way? Why did they react this way to what I said?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you overanalyze everything.
Am I the asshole for pointing out my brother's ankle monitor? I have 2 brothers. We will call them Jonah and Malcolm. Malcolm's the middle one. About 4 years ago, Malcolm was in a pretty toxic relationship and was constantly texting and calling with this long-distance girlfriend. One evening, the couple were fighting via text late at night while Malcolm was driving home. Malcolm had gotten pretty drunk that night. Yeah, that's right. Malcolm was drunk, driving, and texting while driving. He totaled his car, destroyed the mailbox, but luckily suffered only minor scrapes and bruises.
That's good.
Because of this incident, Malcolm got a DUI and had to serve 2 months house arrest with an ankle monitor. Ultimately, Malcolm learned nothing from this experience as he still drinks and drives, frowny face. Jonah went to Sports Clips to get a haircut. He noticed one of the hairstylists had an ankle monitor. He snapped a pic and sent it to our family group chat. Malcolm thought this was hilarious, and him and Jonah were riffing back and forth about this. I had had enough. I thought it was incredibly rude to take a photo of a stranger without their permission and to make fun of this person for having an ankle monitor. I messaged, "Don't judge." Malcolm replied, "Isn't that funny?" So I messaged back, "Well, you would know."
Ooh.
Suddenly, both of my brothers and my parents were messaging me, reprimanding me for this comment. Malcolm said, "This is a family thread where we talk to each other. You're the real asshole in this scenario with that comment. But nice gotcha." I left the chat, not wanting to even acknowledge the conversation anymore. So tell me, am I the asshole here?
No, your brother sucks. The bad guy for telling my girlfriend that she cries way too much. I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years and I love her. The problem is she's way too sensitive and cries over literally everything. For example, one of those charity adverts about starving African children might come on and my girlfriend would start crying, saying it's so sad to see innocent children suffer. Or a colleague of hers would tell her that her mother died and she starts getting tearful even though it isn't her mom who died. At first I thought it was kind of sweet, but now I find it very annoying. Today she came back from work literally bawling her eyes out. So I asked her what's wrong and she just said she saw a dead cat lying on the ground. I told her to get a grip. She got angry and called me heartless. I told her that she cries over everything and it isn't normal. She says that she just feels others' pain. I told her that she needs therapy for it, but she's ignoring me. My family thinks I'm in the wrong.